Hi everyone, welcome back to the ESCBubble channel for another review of the national selections. And in this one, we're going to be talking about the 10 finalists of Estonia's Eesti Laul 2024. My name is Ervin. Joining me in today's video are Sophie, Joe, and Isaac. The first song we're going to be discussing today is Serotoniin, performed by Anet Vaikmaa.
Yeah, and what a great one to start with, actually. It's a song that made it through the semi-final, and it's one of those that was kind of sort of a bit borderline for me. I really wanted it to make it, and really glad that she did. But I guess there were a number of kind of sort of up-tempo female songs, and it was a bit difficult to kind of sort of work out which one would make it through. But I think it's great to have something that is upbeat in the Estonian language, that's fun, that's really well presented. And I'm really, really happy to see it in the final.
Yeah, I'm more or less going to mirror exactly what Joe just said. I really enjoyed this one as well. I think for some people this might have been a bit of a shock qualifier, but I'm not particularly surprised. I think it's very Estonian, and I also think the live performance was really good. The only thing for me that I would like to change, just to kind of take it to the next level, is I do think the performance was just a little bit static for me. I think she was kind of stood on the spot playing the guitar for the whole thing. I would have liked to see a little bit more movement on stage. Yeah, overall, a very good package, and I'm glad to see that it's in the final.
Let's turn that into points. Joe?
For me, it's a solid 8.
Isaac?
7.
I'm going with a 4. Sophie?
I'm going to give it a 7 as well.
Next up, we have Carlos Ukareda with Never Growing Up.
So yeah, when Carlos was in it last year, I instantly liked his song. I thought it was really good. This year, to me, just feels like a worse version of that. It's quite safe. It's quite predictable. To be honest, I'm surprised it was one of the automatic qualifiers when a lot of the ones that were in the semi-final were stronger. Yeah, like I say, it's okay, it's fine, but I don't think it will stand out if it gets picked. I don't think it will get picked. But yeah, it was just a bit disappointing, to be honest, because last year I really liked his song, and this just feels like that, but worse.
I really liked Whiskey Won't Forget as well, and I was quite disappointed when it actually didn't make the final. So in a way, him being a direct finalist this year, I kind of see it like a payback of sorts, because I don't know, can't think of a different word for that. And Never Growing Up is, I don't know, it's just a really nice song. It's quite simple, has a nice and like a very enjoyable melody. It's sung very nicely. It probably won't set the scoreboard on fire, and I don't really think it's going to go to Eurovision, but it's perfectly nice to listen to, and I'm really happy that he's in it. And I'm looking forward to actually see how he's going to stage this and how he's going to perform this song live. Out of 10 for this one. Isaac?
6.
I'll go with a 6 as well. Sophie?
I'm going to go straight down the middle and give it a 5.
Joe?
This one's really not for me. It's a 2.
Next up, we have Hold Me Now, performed by Ewert and the Two Dragons.
This closed the semi-final, and for me, it really stole the show. It's one that I don't think many people were talking about throughout the lead up to the competition, even though Ewert is a huge name, and Ewert and the Two Dragons have been recording for a number of years, worked with so many people. For me, this is just such a perfect song in the times that we're in now. It's kind of like a 3-minute hug. The video for this, I think, that they use on stage as well, of kind of sort of people coming together, I think is really sweet and really gets the message across. But the thing that really sells this, I think, is just the strength of the performance. It's the performance of effectively kind of sort of a group that's, you know, used to, you know, performing as a live band. Ewert is such an accomplished singer. I think it's got a huge amount of quality to it. It reminds me of kind of sort of some of the kind of sort of bands of the kind of sort of 1980s and 90s, the likes of kind of sort of Echo and the Bunnymen and that kind of thing. So I think it's a huge amount of quality there. Whether or not it's going to appeal en masse to The wider kind of sort of Eurovision fandom and the televoting public, I'm not sure, but I expect this to go really, really big with the juries.
Yeah, when I first heard this song, it was possibly the worst one in the whole selection. I found it really boring. But when I saw it live, I have to admit it did elevate a lot. I still don't particularly like it, but that's just my personal preference. I can see it having its fans. To be honest, though, I'm just disappointed that he didn't put as much effort into his staging for Oblivion, because I much preferred that song of the two he had. I do disagree with what you said about the video playing behind them. I think that's quite cheesy. All of the happy couples and families. I don't think that works that well, but he definitely sold it quite well live, despite the fact it's not the kind of song I would personally listen to.
Hold me now out of 10. Joe?
So for me, this is a very strong 9 out of 10.
Isaac?
4.
I'll go one more, I'll go 5. Sophie?
I'll go 2 less. I'm going to go 3.
The fourth act we're going to discuss is Daniel Levi with Over the Moon.
I'm really excited to talk about this one because I really, really, really love it. I think it was, obviously Estonia were one of the first sets of songs we listened to this year. And I might get crucified for this, but it was the first song that gave me potential winner vibes. I think it's just the perfect ballad. The only thing I would change about it is I feel like the ending could have slightly more impact, but as a general package, I just think it's really lovely, really sweet. There is a little cheekiness in the lyrics, and I think we've got Victor Crone to thank for that, but overall I just think it's a lovely package. And I think if Daniel kind of translates the feel of the music video, it's kind of Sam Ryder-esque. If he takes that and then puts that on stage, I think it has the potential to do really well, probably the best out of the 5 pre-qualified finalists.
I don't think I could disagree more if I tried.
I thought you would.
First of all, just like I have to mention this, that like he looks very different to how I remember him looking from the past Eesti Laul editions. And the song, when it starts very nice and slow, but then I don't know, it just, for me personally, it fails to develop and it fails to move away from that beginning. And I also think that like the chorus starting at around like the 2-minute mark doesn't really help, and it doesn't stand out. The song is very nicely orchestrated, but again, I don't know, to me it just sounds like completely flat, nothing's grabbing me, and I just feel like I wanted to like it a lot more than I actually do, because I genuinely do like his previous Eesti Laul entries, so I'm really left disappointed with this one. Let's see how we're going to score this one out of 10. Sophie?
Yeah, this is one of my most favourite songs of the year, so I'm going to give it a 9.
Joe?
For me, it's an 8.
Isaac?
For me, it's also a...
I'll go with a 3. Next up, we have Nele-Liis Vaiksoo with Käte, ümber.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one, but I do feel similarly about it as I did about Answered, who were the kind of folky Estonian band that stayed in the semi-finals and didn't progress. It kind of has lots of elements that I appreciate and I see who they would appeal to, but it's just not personally one for me. I think the song doesn't really develop and there's no kind of climax. And for me, I find it quite uninteresting to listen to. I can see why it's been chosen as one of the finalists. It's in Estonian and it has that kind of folky, ballady feel. But yeah, not one for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the middle with this one, because it's got so many things that I always generally would tend to like in a song, yet I don't necessarily find it all that memorable when I kind of sort of think about kind of sort of the longer list. Vocals, she really can sing, I mean, particularly in that studio version. Now, being an automatic qualifier, we haven't heard the live vocals yet, but if she brings that vocal to this performance, I think we could have something really special, because the song does really build. But I think you're right, Sophie, it builds, but it doesn't really kind of get to where you kind of sort of want it to go. But there is a bit of a sense of drama as it kind of sort of goes through. And I love the Estonian language, and I love ballads in Estonian. And for me, I could almost kind of sort of see this being kind of sort of part of a movie soundtrack. But what I want to see, and what I'm really interested to see in the final, is actually the visual side of this, and how it is, how it's staged and how it's performed. Because it could be something very, very special, or it could be something that, like I said, sounds very nice. But then actually, when you come to kind of sort of think about it in the reckoning, it kind of is somewhere just a bit in the middle.
Out of 10 for this one. Sophie?
It's a 4.
Joe?
For me, a 6.
Isaac?
4.
4 for me as well. Next up, we have Põder with Korra, veel. I expected this song to really stand out, as there aren't that many synth-pop songs in this season, and especially in Eesti Laul. And again, I was left a bit disappointed, because during the semi-final performance, Põder was painfully out of tune multiple times, and the performance was just way too static for this kind of an upbeat song. They had just like a typical band setup on stage, and Põder was hardly moving at all. I kind of hope that they're going to work on this for the actual final and make those necessary changes to make this really stand out, because there's the potential for it. Because otherwise, they're just going to be, in a way, kind of like locked to the bottom of the scoreboard. And I'm glad that the televoting saved them and gave them this chance, but whether they're going to use it or not, kind of like remains to be seen.
Yeah, I've got really mixed feelings on this one, to be honest. The first time I heard it, I thought it was really good, especially considering that when he was in it 2 years ago, he was my least favourite out of all the acts. But then I never really play the song very often. I don't go to play it. It's not one that I think of. When it comes on, I enjoy it, but I never pick it from my playlist. And then when we saw it live, again, I've got mixed feelings. I quite liked the LEDs, the lighting, the sort of AI effect that they're using on their faces, both in the video and live. I think it's quite cool. But again, I don't think it stands out, and it's not one that I really think of until it's like mentioned or comes up. And like you say, his vocals were off. So I think it's a good song, and it's just dropped a bit because of the staging. But depending on which day you ask me, sometimes I really like it, sometimes not so much. It's a hard one.
Let's turn that into points. I'll kick this off with a 6. Sophie?
Same here, 6.
Joe?
I'll give it a 7.
How much are you giving it today, Isaac?
Today, I'll give it a 6.
We got to song 7, and that's going to be My Friend, performed by Ollie.
This may be one that that you and I would disagree on, Ervin, because I know that you're a fan of rock songs. Myself, a little bit less so. But I know that, from last year, he was very popular, came second overall with Venom, which I thought was a stronger song. It felt like it had a bit more to it than perhaps he has with My Friend. And I just can't seem to get on board with it. I'm not entirely sure why. The performance in the semi-final didn't really grab me visually. It didn't have as much energy as I think he had perhaps in last year's performance. And I was a little bit disappointed with the quality of the vocal on the night. But obviously they had time to perhaps work on that ahead of the final. It's just, it's not one that I have quite kind of sort of appreciated or kind of sort of understood why there is such a swell of support around it. When I think, particularly when I look at, some of the other songs that are on the list from Eesti Laul, that I think there's a number that have an awful lot more actual kind of sort of real quality to them.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Joe.
You do.
Because I felt it's like he performed the hell out of this song on that stage, and this song actually has like a lot kind of like harder rock elements than Venom did. and he managed to sell it to the audience like completely. And how I heard it, like every single note was perfect, the growl sounded amazing, and the camera work also worked into his favor. The one thing that actually surprised me in the performance was that he started the song sitting next to the piano, which I just didn't expect. And as you mentioned as well, Joe, I think that like a lot of people are going to question it. How does it compare to Venom? And because of that, whether he should win or not. But even if he should win, no one outside of Estonia, no one outside of the Eurovision fandom will have heard Venom. They're not going to have what to compare it to. Even though they're both rock songs, they're not that similar to each other, because this one just like kicks a bit harder than the other one does. And I mean, I love both of them, and I think that Ollie has a great chance to win, much higher than actually he had last year with Venom. Let's score it out of 10. Joe?
For me, it's a 3.
Isaac?
I think I'm more on Joe's side, but I'll give it a 6.
I'll go with a 10. Sophie?
Wow, this might be the first time you and I agree, Ervin. I'm going to give it an 8.
Next up, we have Uudo, Sepp, and Sarah Murray with Still Love.
There's quite a few of the pre-qualified finalists that share a similar kind of radio-friendly, pop, acoustic-y ballad sort of style. And out of all of them, this is probably my favourite. I got to interview Sarah Murray for our site, so that will come out soon, I hope. But she seemed really happy and excited to be involved, and I think that does come across in the song, and hopefully will come across in the live performance as well. But yeah, it is very kind of surface level for me. It doesn't do anything new or exciting. It's just kind of your bog standard pop country ballad, but it has gotten stuck in my head a few times. It's quite catchy. I'd like to see it do well just because Sarah Murray was really nice to me, but I don't think it's going to be very competitive, but I would like to see it do reasonably well.
Yeah, I pretty much just copy and paste everything that Sophie just said, to be honest. It's not bad. I feel similar way about Carlos, both quite safe, quite nice. I do prefer this song to Carlos's, but yeah, it will do fine. It's pleasant. I have saved it. I do listen to it, but there were better songs.
Still Love out of 10. Sophie?
The 6.
Joe?
For me, it's a 2.
Isaac?
6.
For me, it's a 4. Next up, we have Viis Miinust and Puuluup with a song which title I cannot pronounce.
Yeah, I think this is the clear winner. It's the best song in the selection. It's one of my favourite songs of the whole year. I think this stands out by a mile. The music video is great. The live performance is great. I know some people are finding slight problems with the live performance, but I don't think there are any, to be honest. I think it works great because it's supposed to be chaotic and crazy, and it is. You've got the old and the young, the sort of traditional and the modern. It mixes everything really well. I hope they pick this. I think they will. It's, yeah, like I said, it's an amazing song, and I could see this doing really well at Eurovision, sort of like Trenital, the crazy outsider song, which ends up smashing the televote.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you completely on that. I think it has something that just appeals to everyone. So it's kind of sort of, yeah, it's not even kind of sort of stuck within its genre. It's something that I think will appeal to just about everyone because it's infectious. Just the energy that it brings, the sense of fun, the intentional chaos. I just think it's just 3 minutes of pure entertainment, and it's got a very simple dance routine that even I can do, which is always a bonus. So I always love a bit of that. Similarly, I think this is the class of the field. I think it's one that I can very much see a televoting public get behind, and very much a potential winner.
Out of 10, Isaac?
9.
I'll go with a 9 as well. Sophie?
I'm going to go 7.
Joe?
And for me, it's a 9.
Last but not least, we have Brother Apollo with Bad Boy.
I have to be honest with this one. The first time I listened to it, my overwhelming feeling was one of disappointment. I think for me, any song at Eurovision and beyond where the chorus is kind of the same phrase repeated over and over and over again, it always leaves something to be desired. But that being said, I've listened to it a lot more and I do think it's a grower, but you know, on the Eurovision stage, that doesn't mean a lot because you only get one shot. But it's still a very decent rock song, and I think they have a lot of charisma in the music video. So again, if they kind of take that and put that on the stage in the final, it has the potential to do reasonably well. But yeah, out of the 2 rock entries, I think for me, Ollie takes the cake.
I don't know if Elaine had something to add to this one or whether she was agreeing or disagreeing with Sophie, but for me personally, this is kind of like a bland Backstreet Boys type of song with a bit of like a rock coating to it. And I felt like the song could be actually a lot catchier than it really is. And in a way, like I can see what they were trying to achieve, but they just didn't get there in the end for me. And just the same way as you mentioned, Sophie, it's just way too repetitive, but not in a good way. I hope that they're going to come up with like a really good staging for this one, as the song doesn't really go anywhere. So at least with a good staging, they can not just remain completely unnoticed, but we'll see. Bad Boy out of 10. Sophie?
It's an optimistic 7.
Joe?
For me, it's a 4.
Isaac?
I prefer this to Ollie. I think this is the best way of saying be yourself without literally saying be yourself. It's a 7.
For me, it's an optimistic 4. As you can see, the favorite of the 4 of us are Viis Miinust and Puuluup, who scored 34 points, followed by Daniel Levi in second place with 28, and Ollie completes our top 3 with 27. Now, this was all based on our personal thoughts and opinions, but let's try and predict who's actually gonna go on and win Eesti Laul and represent Estonia in Eurovision. Hi, Elaine. Sophie?
I would love to see Daniel Levi take it. I don't think he will. I think it's going to be finalists and Puuluup.
So I think it might be Daniel Levi.
Finalists and Puuluup, definitely, 100%.
Hope never dies. It's gonna be Ollie. Thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comment section down below whether you agree or maybe you disagree with any of our thoughts and opinions, and also tell us how you would score all of these 10 songs. And I want to thank Sophie, Joe, and Isaac for joining for this video, and we're going to see all of you with our next reaction video very soon. Bye, everyone.